What's going on, everyone? Welcome back to another edition of Pistons Daily, where you can find daily content covering all things Detroit Pistons, 365 days a year. I'm your host. My name is Kyle Garrison. I'm over on Twitter at Kyle Garrison2, where I talk all things Detroit sports. So head over there, give me comments, questions, concerns, episode ideas. I'd love to hear from all you guys. Also, shout out to everyone who tunes in every single day. The channel is growing at an unbelievable rate, and it is all thanks to you guys. So once again, I really appreciate it. But with that being said, let's jump right into today's video. So the first thing that I wanted to talk about is Ron Holland was named to the Summer League second team, or the All Summer League second team. Obviously, he only played 3 games, but in those 3 games, in that small sample size, he was just unbelievable. At the end of 3 games, he played 89 total minutes, 65 total points, 19 of 36 from the field on 52%, 7 of 15 from 3, 46%, 18 total rebounds, and 7 assists. And just all across the board, I thought he was incredible. I know we've talked about it pretty in depth on here, but I really think that he is poised to come in and have an unbelievable season this year. The overall offensive game is obviously not at its peak quite yet, but it's clearly refined. There's parts of his game that last year we did not see in the Summer League, and we didn't really see in the regular season either. And I think he's poised to take a very big leap heading into his sophomore year. Again, like I said, selected to that All Summer League second team. I'll just read off who was on that list. Ron Holland, Isaac Jones, who played every game, Con Knipple, who played every game and whose team won the championship, AJ Mitchell, who was a first-round draft pick for the Thunder in 2024 and has been very solid in the Summer League, a guy that I actually expect to find rotational minutes this year for the Thunder. And then KJ Simpson, who was also started some games at point guard for the Hornets last year with LaMelo Ball's injuries, and he was also on the second team. So pretty good company. I think Ron Holland, out of all 5 of those players, next year will probably be the best overall player. Con Knipple might get a little bit bigger of a role, but I do expect Ron Holland to have a significant increase in minutes compared to his rookie year. And I do think that even if you look at the first team, the only other player that I think will have a more refined or defined role on their team is Kyle Filipowski for the Jazz, who was just unbelievable in the Summer League. But other than Kyle Filipowski and even maybe Con Knipple or some of those other guys, I think that Ron Holland was unbelievable. If he doesn't play 3 games, if he plays all of the games, I do believe that he probably is a first-team guy. And the Pistons might have been able to actually win the entire Summer League tournament. So, he, again, 3 games, small sample size, got to take it with a grain of salt. But at the end of the day, what we did see, again, 7 to 15 from 3. I mean, he shot, I think, 26% in the Summer League last season, and comes into this year, shoots over 40%, sitting at 46%, over 50% from the field, and just overall was incredible. So shout out to Ron Holland. I thought he came in, led the team, did a good job being a leader in that locker room, even though he still is only 20 years old. And I really think he did put the rest of the NBA on notice with his jump shot that he's going to be a guy that is going to be somebody that's tough to guard and is also going to be an incredible defender. So he's going to play both sides of the ball very well. And again, I'm very excited to see what he can do this season in a more defined role on this Pistons team. But let me know in the comments or over on Twitter your thoughts on Ron Holland's overall Summer League performance and kind of what you are expecting out of him heading into year 2. But moving on here, I just wanted to touch on the Jaden Ivey trade rumors that I've been seeing all over Twitter. I think that it stemmed from an article that came out. I think it was by Clutch Points. I can't remember the name of the author, but there was an article that came out that kind of just basically said the Pistons need to trade Jaden Ivey right now. He doesn't fit their timeline. He doesn't fit their core. And while there is some truth to it that maybe it would be the right time to at the deadline because he is a free agent going into next offseason. He's coming off of a broken leg. And, there's maybe some speculation that the right move could be to move him, but the Pistons aren't just going to move him just for the sake of moving him. There's no way that they are just going to sit idly by, allow other teams to, shoot offers at them, and they're just going to jump on the first thing that comes their way because they don't want to extend him. No, That is not the case at all. Trajan Langdon has came out and said he's excited about Jaden Ivey. He wants him to get that some backup point guard minutes so he can become a full combo guard in this league instead of being just a specific off-ball player like he has been so far in his career. We saw in his rookie year when Cade Cunningham was out. He played very well at the point guard position. Granted, those teams were just horrendous, but with a better team around him, a more experienced team, I think he can be an incredible off-ball two guard and can learn how to play that backup point guard as well and kind of alleviate some of that pressure from Cade Cunningham, give the defense a different look at that point guard position as well. So I'm really excited to see what Jaden Ivey can do. He's still only 23 years old. He's got an insane upside, and I don't think what we saw from him last year was a fluke whatsoever. So I don't like the speculation that he's going to be traded just because he is owed an extension or that he doesn't fit this timeline. I mean, he perfectly fits this timeline. He was a draft pick right in between Cade Cunningham and Asar Thompson. He was the fifth pick, which the Pistons were a little bit bummed getting him at that point, but I think they got a very, very high value selection in Jaden Ivey. And you kind of look at some of the other options. You look at a Keegan Murray, who was taken around that same pick as Jaden Ivey. You look at a guy like Jabari Smith, who was taken third overall. I truly believe that Jaden Ivey has a higher upside than both those players. Obviously, I think Keegan Murray and Jabari Smith are still very good, but Jaden Ivey has some talent that he has not even tapped into. That finishing ability at the rim is going to expand his game. The being able to play backup point guard and, like I said, kind of transition into that combo guard is also going to just increase his value. So I don't think the Pistons should punt on him whatsoever at the deadline. If he comes out and he's struggling a little bit, that's natural. He's coming off of a broken leg that sidelined him from December on for the rest of the season. So he might come in and have some growing pains, and he might have to get back into game shape. But at the end of the day, that skill is still there. We've seen it progress from year to year to year. And I don't expect that to just completely fall off and him to just be what he was last year and that be the peak of his NBA career. I still think he's got a ton of talent, a ton of upside, and he's going to tap into that this year. But again, obviously, like I said, it's just going to be a matter of time, and either the Pistons will extend him or not, and then we'll have our answer. But for now, I think we just need to let him come back, let him get acclimated to this team, get acclimated to playing with Asar Thompson, who he wasn't really able to play with last year at all because their injuries kind of offset each other. And I just think that he can show that he's going to fit in this starting lineup going forward and be a very good complementary piece to Cade Cunningham as a potential second option. But let me know in the comments or over on Twitter if you think the Pistons should listen to offers surrounding Jaden Ivey, or if you, like me, you'd like to see the front office hold on to him long term, extend him here coming up pretty soon, hopefully, and utilize him as that second option, that second guard going forward next to your franchise cornerstone in Cade Cunningham. But moving on, just wanted to touch on Chaz Lanier. I've just seen some discourse about where people see Chaz Lanier fitting into this rotation long term. And I agree. I am also one of those people that is a little bit skeptical where his fit is, kind of if he was the right pick at 37. I do think there is a ton of upside, but just what we saw from Summer League, I think there's just some questions surrounding his game and whether or not it can transfer to the NBA level. And I think that's very fair to evaluate. I think that there's a lot of people who are in the same boat as myself where they're not completely writing him off because of a couple, mediocre summer league games, but, we're going to have to see some sort of valuable piece of his game that's going to translate to the NBA level. If he's not going to be an elite defender, if he's not going to be an elite playmaker at the guard position, if he's going to specifically be a knockdown shooter, he has to be like a Malik Beasley or even like a Tim Hardaway Jr., where they're able to move off ball extremely effectively. They're able to run off screens with conviction, catch and shoot with hands in their face, knock them down at a high clip. And I just don't think we saw a ton of that in the Summer League. I think we saw a lot of one-dimensional parts of his game. His specific skill set is catching and shooting, finding open space on the floor. And we saw him find the space. We saw him get open, but just knocking down the threes, I think, is the biggest gripe with him so far. And I'm not saying that I don't like him as a player, and I'm not saying that, he's not an NBA player whatsoever and never will be. I really do like what he brings to the table. From a shooting standpoint, he's got unbelievable mechanics. He gets that shot off extremely quickly, and he's able to shoot over taller defenders. And again, like I've talked about a million times on this show, his off-ball movement and his basketball IQ as an off-ball player is very advanced, for a rookie coming in. I think that has a lot to do with being a 5-year player in college, but I like what he brings to the table overall, and I think that he can be a guy who plays significant minutes in the future. We're going to need to see more than what we saw from him in the summer league. That also brings up the question, if he can't get in a rhythm really against summer league players and glorified G League players, how do we expect him to thrive off ball and exploit floor spacing to his advantage if, there's not a ton of high upside that we've seen from him against worse competition? So I'm just a little bit skeptical about what he brings to the table, and I think he could use a year in the G League to really just figure out what his role is in the NBA, because there's a lot of guys out there who come into the league and they expect to develop parts of their game that they never really have before. And I just don't think that's ever really the case. You are drafted to do what you do best. And for Chaz Lanier, that's shooting threes. He's not going to develop this crazy off-the-dribble package where he's dishing out 5 dimes a game. I just don't think that's where he is as a player, and I just don't think that's where his niche is. It's not a knock against him. I think that he just needs to focus on being a movement shooter and that being his role in this league to find minutes. He knows he isn't a 19, 18-year-old prospect coming into the league. He's 23 years old. He's the same age as Jaden Ivey. He's a little bit older than Jalen Duren. He's the same age as Cade Cunningham, who have all had multiple years in the NBA. So he's obviously behind them from just a pure basketball standpoint and needs some time to grow. So I think that he could play significant minutes for the Cruise this year. I'd like to see him play a little bit with the Pistons, but I just don't think that he should be in the rotation for a team that's trying to compete for a championship right now. Maybe in the future, we'll just have to see what he looks like going forward. And I do think that he can be a guy who gets back to what we saw from him at Tennessee, a guy that flies off screens and knocks down shots with no space whatsoever at a very, very high clip. He was one of the best shooters, if not the best, in the entire country last year at Tennessee. So he's got a ton of upside, and there is room for him to grow as a player overall and find a way to crack this rotation going forward. But last thing before we wrap things up here, I just wanted to talk about Isaiah Stewart. I know I've talked about almost every player on the roster, but I don't think I've really dove into Beef Stew quite yet. So I just wanted to touch on what I think he is as a player, what I think he is on this team going forward, and just how he can affect winning at a high level. So in the playoffs last year, if we have Stew, do we win that series? I think that's a very fair question. I personally think that it at least goes to 7 because I don't think Karl-Anthony Towns has that explosion that he did at the end of, I don't remember what game, if it was game 4 or what it was, but he was hitting shots behind the backboard. He was hitting multiple threes from the top of the key that were a couple steps behind the three-point line. And I just don't see that being the case if Isaiah Stewart's in the game. Yeah, maybe he makes some tough shots, but Isaiah Stewart is going to knock him off of his spot. He's not going to make those catches easy, and who knows if he even gets those looks or those shot attempts if Isaiah Stewart is in the game. So hindsight's 2020 though, and they kept him out of that series. Pistons ended up losing. Ifs and buts, who knows what can really happen if he plays in that series, and we'll never know. So we're not going to dwell on that. We're not going to dwell on the past. We're just going to look at the future, and fortunately, he didn't play and get more injured, so that is also a reason that you can kind of look at it as a positive that he didn't play. And now he's ready to go this year. Maybe he plays in that series, re-aggravates his injury, and you're seeing him have to rehab, and you're seeing him have a shorter offseason than what he actually had, and potentially going into training camp with lingering injuries or potential to miss some games as well. So we're seeing him fully healthy, and that's exactly what we want to see. He established himself as an elite rim protector last season, and I think that he is going to continue that heading into the 2025-2026 season. Overall, when you're looking at his advanced stats, he's not going to blow you away with like deflections and steals and whatnot, but the rim defense and the rim protection ability overall for a guy who sits around 6'10", 6'9", is just unbelievable. People have him listed at 6'8" some places, and he's in the 96th percentile in rim defense. Basically, this is just the difference between the field goal percentage a player allows within 6 feet versus what those same opponents shoot within 6 feet against all other players. He's at a minus 11.1 with that. For example, somebody like Miles Turner has had a rate at minus 14% in his career. But Miles Turner has been a guy who has been a potential DPOY winner, has been on all NBA defensive teams as well. And Isaiah Stewart is up there with the elite of the elite, especially as a rim protector, and it shows from his advanced stats. His block percentage is 5.7. It's also in the 96th percentile. The percentage of opponent shot attempts that a player blocks while on the court. I mean, he only played 19 minutes a game last year, and what were his block numbers? 1.4 blocks per game in 19.9 minutes. I mean, imagine if he was a 35-minute-a-night guy. He'd be up there at 3 blocks a game. His defensive energy is absolutely infectious. Everything he does with conviction, he does with heart, and he does with a malicious intent, which is a good thing for a guy who is very aggressive, very physical, and kind of predicates himself on that bruiser defensive style of basketball. So I just love what he brought to the table last year in a decreased offensive role. He knows, like I talked about with Chaz Lanier, and him finding a way to find his niche in the NBA as a role player. Isaiah Stewart has found that. He stopped shooting threes. He hasn't stopped trying to develop his offensive game, but he's honed in on what he knows he can make his money off of and where he can find minutes in this league. And that is just being a terror on the defensive end of the floor. And I just love the energy he brings. He embodies that Detroit grit, that Detroit hustle, and it's Detroit versus everybody. And I know if anybody in that locker room embodies that, that's Isaiah Stewart. So I just love what he brought to the table last year. It was a shame we couldn't see him in the playoffs in a matchup against Karl Anthony Towns. I think that would have been really, really fun. Potential to get a little chippy here and there. So that would have been unbelievable to watch. But again, he was able to stay healthy throughout the offseason, didn't re-aggravate any injuries, and now he's coming into the season fully healthy, which is exactly what this team needs, with kind of a lack of rim-protecting defense, with Jalen Duren and Tobias Harris really being your starting 4 and 5. But that's all I've really got for you guys today. Let me know what you guys think of Isaiah Stewart this year and kind of what you're looking at his role. If you think it's going to be more than it was last year, less than it was last year, and just kind of what you're looking at him or looking from him on the defensive side of the ball. But that's all I've got for you guys today. Let me know in the comments or over on Twitter your thoughts on if the Jaden Ivey trade rumors kind of suit what you think his future looks like, or if you disagree with them overall, and if you want to see the Pistons keep Jaden Ivey long term. Also, just give me your opinion on Chaz Lanier and if you'd like to see him get some run on the 15-man this upcoming season or spend a majority of his time in the G League. But as always, like, subscribe, comment, turn on post notifications, and follow me on Twitter over at Kyle Garrison 2. Also, head over to Spotify, leave a review and a follow if you can. That would be greatly appreciated. And once again, thank you all so much for tuning in every single day. With that being said, that is going to do it here for episode 29 of Pistons Daily, and I will catch you all next time.